1 in 65 girls in the state of Oregon are now diagnosed with gender dysphoria. I'll be your host, Sven Sharpen, for today's episode of Sharpen the Narrative. So, something insane is happening in the state of Oregon if 1 in 65 girls there are diagnosed with gender dysphoria or some other trans-related condition. And that really just means the rate of gender dysphoria there is almost as much as the nationwide rate for autism is, which is like 1 in 30, 25, whatever it's at now. So gender dysphoria used to just be a more male condition, and it used to be called gender identity disorder. And nowadays, it might as well just be a term for underlying autism or sensory processing disorders. But now it's diagnosed really whenever anybody, especially a young girl, experiences pubescent discomfort. And that's a normal thing that even I myself have experienced. And girls typically have it worse, which explains a lot of these diagnoses. A girl, especially one on the autism spectrum, is going to have a heck of a lot of discomfort during puberty. There's going to be lots of stuff, lots of body changes, and unwanted attention that they end up getting. And it makes them extremely uncomfortable, understandably so. Anyone in that situation, especially someone on the autism spectrum, will just take whatever solution they can find to cope with that distress. And so you end up in a situation where you're an easy target for the trans cult if you're a young girl experiencing pubescent discomfort. Oregon is one of the worst Trantifa states in the country, and these girls are easily targeted by these radical left activist groups, telling them that this discomfort never goes away no matter how long they live, and that the only way to solve it is to transition, which is just outrageous. It makes absolutely no sense. So it absolutely explains why there's this epidemic of girls having this rapid onset dysphoria across the country, especially in those West Coast states like Oregon. And this isn't even really just a statistic. These are potential friends. Considering how many of them are on the autism spectrum, these are potential friends, these are potential partners, potential girlfriends, wives, and mothers for other autistics who themselves are struggling with relationships due to these government-sponsored programs. You basically end up in this sort of doom loop where, because all of the people that are closest to you are trans and transitioning, it's easier for you to believe you're trans yourself, which explains why so many autistic boys might think they're trans as well, or other autistic folks that decide to go into autism groups to help understand themselves better, only to then identify as trans because that's the only thing that they're identifying as. And then this cycle just continues to repeat itself. And this is being paid for by taxpayer dollars, especially in a far left state like Oregon. And if this gets any worse, then these states and groups will start to treat gender dysphoria and autism as one and the same. They're going to treat gender dysphoria and autism as being the same thing, which really means that some autistics, like myself, if I were a kid today, would be forced, whether I had any desire to transition or not, to actually undergo these irreversible procedures, which is just the ultimate evil. And I will do whatever it takes to prevent that from happening. And this will only get worse if these autistic kids continue to not have leaders. Only until autistics have good, and I mean objectively good leaders to follow, people who will bring them to Christ, bring them to truth, and guide them to love God, love their families, to love America, to take care of themselves, and to live life the way God created them to live. That is what I'm here to do, and that is what parents and families and people like Charlie Kirk are or were here to do. But in the meantime, until then, at the very least, we should just diagnose these girls with autism instead without later abusing them, mind you, because abusing them in special needs programs just recreates the problem. It doesn't make anything any different. And you have to tell them the real reasons why they're experiencing discomfort, because until then, this will only get worse. I've been your host, Sven Sharpen. That was Sharpen the Narrative. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all, and have a great day. Goodbye.